So welcome. So this is the 8th edition of the peer-to-peer financial system workshop that I had the pleasure to kick off a few years ago. I was discussing this morning with some old friend of mine, one of the first participants indeed at the conference. I did kick off the Deutsche Bundesbank in Germany in 2015 when I was working there. And it was very interesting when I did kick off this, because at that time we were even able to accept the registration fees in Bitcoin. Imagine the price was not the price of today, but it was interesting how forward-looking was the German central bank at that time, keen to understand the financial innovation and in the crypto space in general. So the event is about indeed financial disintermediation, digital finance, DeFi, as more recently people like to call, but the concept, as many of you know, of financial disintermediation is a long-term trend that is happening even before the Bitcoin invention. So it's a long-term process, which give power basically to, so let's say, to the edge of the network thanks to the technology. We have now a lot of new technologies in network ICTs that allow the peer-to-peer exchange of information and value without intermediaries. And digital currencies, stablecoins, DeFi, tokenization represent basically the core of this innovation and the topics of this workshop. So this innovation brings, of course, opportunities and risk, and the question whether the current financial disintermediation process is fit for the future remain unanswered. So that's why we organize these events in order to put together different people from different communities, from the academic community, from the financial market authority community, and from the industry, to discuss these controversial themes and dive into the advantages and disadvantages of the present and the future challenges of these technologies. Certainly, when we started, I remember in 2015 the event, everything boiled down to politics. It was a matter of politics because I remember at that time we had some very vibrant cyberpunk community that even took part of the event. I remember some speakers connected from some unknown place in the world online with the hoods and hidden with masking their voices and delivering the speech. So in front of central bankers, in front of financial market authorities, and the audience composed of these authorities, they were listening to this representative of the cyberpunk communities. So the idea when all this innovation was boosted with the invention of Bitcoin was basically of replacing the government with algorithms that were able to be more fair and less corrupted than human beings. That was basically the idea. The idea indeed was boosted by this innovation, Bitcoin, and then Ethereum, and so on. But the concept of giving back control of money to the people is an old concept. It's an old concept that is older, like my age, is 46 years old. The book from 1976 of Friedrich Hayek is a Nobel laureate. It's a very interesting book. It is titled The Denationalization of Money. So, and it was one of the first to conceptualize the need for the economies to get rid of the control of money from the governments and give control of the money to companies, to business, to private business that could issue their own form of money, deciding how to do so on their own. And later on, about 20 years ago, Milton Friedman, another Nobel laureate, was interviewed and say, I will always be in favor of abolishing the Federal Reserve and substituting machine program that would keep the quantity of money growing up at a steady rate. And a few years after, the Bitcoin was invented. So the concept of this politics behind this myth of replacing, corrupted human being with algorithms, programming languages that can be more efficient is something that has been there since then. And more recently, what happened is simply that we have the opportunity to have technology at our fingerprints. More recently, we have the opportunity to implement some of these ideas, to test, to play with some of these concepts, even in the sandbox approaches. And some of the regulators indeed are very forward-looking with this. And that's why we have seen in the last years the emergence of these sandboxes that help innovators in this space to experiment with these new technologies. Although we have done a bit of work over the last 13 years since the Nakamoto paper, there is still a lot of work to be done. The market seems indeed to be very much centralized and in control of the few. If you think about the Bitcoin core code has been written mostly 30% by the single coder, and I can continue with this, centralization statistics. If you think about also in the market, about 20% of the richest addresses in the crypto community is controlled by the 20%. So the 20/80, division of wealth, which is a very common standard, indeed, unfortunately, in the economy. So indeed, so now it looks like that this decentralization efforts, the need to give back power to people away from the corrupted government didn't much work well. And there is indeed the recognition by the community of this important trade-off between controllability, authority, and privacy. And we can ask many questions. Some of these questions will be addressed during these 2 days. Shall decentralized finance self-regulate itself, for example, with smart contracts running? We heard a lot of time this concept of micro-prudential regulation run through smart contracts and managed by, away from central authorities. Or should this decentralized finance be controlled by the central authorities with the norms set by the states? So there is a debate going on. There are some different perspectives on this. Another thing is a question that we may want to answer is whether we want to bargain away our privacy and our trust to well-established centralized authority like central banks or commercial banks, centralized but accountable trust providers, give away and maybe versus a direct control of our trust via the so-called trust machine mechanism. There was a cover of The Economist a few years ago that was picturing the blockchain as a trust machine. So do we want this control of our trust via these trust machines that we control ourselves, or we have the illusion to control ourselves because as we know, these machines are generally run by anonymous small group of people that and the things could go very, very easily wrong, as we have seen even in the recent scandals. So indeed, the recent scandals show that the innovation journey toward a complete decentralization is full of challenges and risk. And these challenges and risks can divert us from the original political missions to use algorithms to prevent corruption, accounting gimmick, and frauds. So these are the topics that we're going to hopefully address over these 2 years. And we are going to have prestigious speakers that will help us to understand some of these points. So since the 2015 edition, this event has been a very important event with the prestigious support from Federal Reserve Bank of Cleveland, the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England, the Bank of Italy, many other central banks, including also the European Central Bank. This year we are at the UCL, Center for Blockchain Technologies. He's organizing this. I have the pleasure to have co-founded the center in 2015, and since then I'm leading the center. Now we are hosted at the UCL School of Management, and I thank the UCL School of Management for the hospitality, and I'm very glad now to give the voice to Jawa Su, who is my colleague at UCL, who will be acting as a chairperson for this morning session, and she will coordinate the talks and the presentation from the speakers and the questions from the audience. So thank you and welcome.